Hi, and welcome to Problem Solving and Decision Making. Decision making. You're going to need to get a piece of paper and a pencil and take very good notes because after this presentation, you'll be asked to do some assignments and take a quiz. So let's get started. A problem is a situation or a matter that is regarded as unwelcome or harmful, or it's just something that needs dealt with. It can be a mystery, a puzzle, an unsettled matter, a situation requiring a solution, or an issue requiring solving or a solution. A problem is the gap between ideal and actual conditions. And a decision is a choice between the solutions to a problem. Sometimes we see problems where other people don't, and vice versa. Your situation is not like anybody else's. So, defining a problem starts with you. Problems can be classified as things that have already happened, that lie ahead, or things that you want to prevent from happening. How we personally view a problem can impact how we make that decision. And being able to classify a problem will help you be able to come to a better decision. We can learn from our past while we're preparing for our future. Decisions are just experiments that sometimes take us out of our comfort zones. Problem solving is the process of finding solutions to difficult or complex issues. Sometimes the issues are not life altering, but they still need to be dealt with. Decision making is the action or process of making decisions or choices, especially important ones that could affect you or somebody you love. Decisions. These are just a conclusion or a resolution reached after you've considered and clarified what the problem is. I want you to think about 2 small decisions and 2 large decisions you've made recently. Now, think about the problem that caused you to have to make that decision. Were these decisions easy to identify? Could these decisions have affected your future or someone else's? Which ones were easiest to make? Not all decisions are hard, and some they're not going to impact the future in a big way. For example, what shirt you're going to wear today, or if you're going to drink coffee this morning, may not affect your long-term future. Unfortunately, though, some problems will require us to decide what the impact is both on our short-term and long-term views in our lives or futures. Sometimes our decisions affect others. And if we approach our problems correctly, we can use our knowledge and experience to make the best decision possible for everyone involved. Problem-solving styles. There's 4 of them. Think about which one you might be as we go through them. The diplomat values opinion over facts, focus on practical solutions, and is very persuasive and learns from talking to others. The professor is interested in theories and background information. They learn from relationships to other situations, and they try to be objective. They give others information and receive information. The detective is interested in the cause and focuses on relevant facts. They prefer to make a direct observation and follow consistent process and methods. They try to establish clear cause and effect relationships. The champion is interested in results and finds solutions by trying one out. They want to achieve success without help from others and trust their own instincts. Good in crisis situations when time is important. If you're unsure, there's a handout along with the module in the handout section. Make sure to look at that and go through it to find out. There's the problem-solving module has 3 phases. The first one is to identify and define the problem. Analyze what caused the problem. The second, you identify the solutions and choose the best one. The third, you plan your course of action and you implement it. Identify and define, identify and choose, and then plan and implement your course of action. Knowing what the problem is very important. So when you define it and identify it, you can analyze the causes. You're going to be more likely to understand what you're facing before you act and react than if you wait. You could jeopardize something very important to yourself or someone else if you don't use the problem-solving model we have just talked about. There are 3 ways you can approach a problem. Some are more effective than others. You can stall or delay your decisions. That's called procrastination. And when you use this approach, you're willingly given permission for other people to decide for you. Or you're going to wait till the last minute and make a decision because you're panicked. Many procrastinators feel like it's other people's fault when decisions are made that they don't like or agree with. But in reality, when you procrastinate, you've already decided to let somebody else decide. Another one is snap decisions. With a snap decision, there's little or no thinking or logic being used. You're not really acknowledging the adverse effects that could possibly come from this approach. You don't think about the effect on others or the effect on yourselves. A snap decision could look really good, but end up being too much for you to handle or very messy. The next is the professional approach. This is an approach to problem solving that is based on sound decision-making practices. It's going to take a little longer than the other 2 ways that we've discussed. And this approach is not mistake-proof, but it brings back a more positive process and changes. And if you use a professional approach, you can then kind of look back at how you made that decision and see if there was some other way you can go about it. An ideal problem solver is objective, thinks outside of the box, focused, involves others, and sets realistic expectations. Now, everyone has met somebody they thought was a problem solver, a good one, an ideal one. MacGyver is a fictional example of a good problem solver. But being an ideal problem solver isn't fiction. To be an ideal problem solver, you just have to use critical thinking. To be an effective critical thinker, you must be willing to see the solution of a living project. You plan, but realize that sometimes there's going to be something that changes unexpectedly or a barrier. The most important habits of a critical thinker is to plan, be flexible, be persistent, and be willing to self-correct when you see a problem or an unexpected change. Now, there are a lot of barriers to critical thinking. 5 big ones, but a lot that fall in those 5. The first one is frame of reference. This is your belief system, your interpretation of new situations, how you've been culturally conditioned. and a refusal to look at the merits of something our belief system rejects. Kind of like a closed-mindedness. There's wishful thinking. We talk ourselves into believing things not because they are true, but because we want them to be true. We deceive ourselves into believing things and then into not believing things. Hasty moral judgment. This is when we evaluate someone or something and then remain fixed on our evaluation of good or bad and right or wrong. And these judgments are often prejudiced, intolerant, emotional, or self-righteous. We don't leave any room for our judgment to be wrong of something or someone. Reliance on authority. We seek out expert sources. We want authorities and institutions to think for us. And it blocks our own ability to question, reason, and investigate the solutions that are out there. Labeling. Labels ignore differences and lump people and things into categories. They oversimplify and distort the truth, incite anger and rejection. We have maybe faced these barriers or used them at different times in our own lives. They have prevented well-informed decision-making at some point in all our lives. So, today we've learned the importance of critical thinking and planning and overcoming obstacles in our lives and in your life. So, make sure you go over any notes you've taken, message your instructor with any questions, and please complete the assignments and final quiz.